Okay, snipers, we've got a hot one today. This is GVSI, Good Vibration Shoes. So it went over 7 cents, 7.7 cents, I believe, on merger hype last year. This is going to be a clean shell. George Sharp is the CEO of this one. It dropped down on the EM market down to just over a penny, and it recently has spiked back up to 3.77 cents on news that it's going pink current. Let's take a look at the CEO, George Sharp. So if you jump over to his Twitter account, he is one of the most controversial CEOs in the OTC and has a huge following. He is also CEO of FORW, SRNW, WNFT, and of course the ticket we're talking about today, GVSI. So he is a long-time exposure of OTC fraud, former consultant to the OTC markets. So he goes after people. Like, he's really interesting to follow. I recommend you go on Twitter, hit follow on this guy's account. You know, he's pretty cool. He states facts. I don't tell you to buy. I don't tell you to sell. You know, he's got a massive following. You know, you can take a look, 41.6 thousand followers on Twitter. He only follows 46 people. You know, you gotta follow this guy. Like, he's interesting. You know, he's got a whole big list of ways to get yourself blocked. You know, right on there, December 1st, 21st. You know, be polite. You know, don't push your tickers. Don't pump. You know, recent news on GVSI is preparing an initial court order to cancel 294 million shares. They're also examining to see how many additional shares might be canceled. This is pretty much what he does. When he gets in these tickers, he goes and he cleans them up. He lowers the available share count. He cancels shares. He gets them ready to put in a big, valuable company, merge them in there. This is what he did with TSNP a couple of years ago. And that ticker ran from triple zeros to dollars, made people millions of dollars. This is why he has such a huge following. He doesn't bullshit people. Like, he actually makes people a lot of money. So if you go down and scroll through some of his Twitter stuff, you know, he puts out a lot of funny posts. You know, you looked at, for a moment, I didn't think she had a head. You know, I like his comedy. You know, he actually responds back to people what you know, he makes, there's no rule, you know, at least invite me out to dinner. You know, I don't go out with married women. Sorry. You know, I like that he's comical. The OTC market has informed me that GVSI is set to be determined pink limit on Tuesday. I believe that's happening. So this Tuesday should be the, you know, reintroduction of GVSI into the marketplace. I expect big things from it, an initial bump right away. GVSI shares cannot be sold as their restricted preferred day is going to be canceled. There's a lot going on with this company right now. But again, this is a clean shell. We don't actually have a merger candidate for it yet, but he is famous for, you know, picking up big merger candidates, putting them in these clean shells he does. You know, today's ponderable. Can one get pregnant on a pull-out couch? I mean, women beats off shark. I mean, like, this is the kind of CEO he is. He's a lot of fun, and I like following guys like this. At least he puts out some information. So you look at GVSI's security details right now. You know, authorized shares 7 billion. I don't think that's gonna last. It's gonna go way down. Outstanding shares 2.4. Again, gonna go way down. Take a look and jump over to GVSI on Twitter, and there's a lot of guys, you know, pumping him up right now. You know, everybody, look what happened when GVSI went to 7.7 on IBKR. I think we should jump up to somewhere near there when it comes out as pink current. People are talking about what he did with TSNP reaching $1. You know, maybe after some material updates, once they actually put a merger in this, you could see something like that someday. But I'm not big on, you know, pumping these merger tickers out before they have a candidate. I do expect GVSI to have a nice bump when it comes pink current as the Americans are able to start buying this. You know, they're at 3.77 cents right now. It previously hit 7.7 cents on hype when the Americans were able to buy it before. I expect that you'll probably get a nice bump when it becomes pink current early this week. You know, you go over to GVSI's website, you know, 2022 annual report has come out. This is on their Twitter account. They filed their 2-year things. There's not a ton of information on this company right now, but I think it's going to be a fun ride. Follow it closely. You know, it's not going to $1 tomorrow, guys. That's how I feel about it. So in closing on GVSI, I think that, GVSI has a long ways to go. I really like George Sharp's plan with them. Clean them up, get them ready for a huge merger candidate. I do think that there's some potential for a continuation on Pink Current. At 3.77 cents, I personally believe that this ticker's undervalued still. I think you're going to get a nice run out of Pink. I don't think you're going to $1, guys. Out of Pink Current, like these guys that are calling for this massive run to $1, and what we need, and what even George Sharp says, like the pumpers are going to pump and they're going to get out there and they're all going to call for this run to $1 immediately. What we need from the company is material updates. I do believe in George and George Sharp's vision for these companies. Get these companies clean. Find a high value target merger acquisition, put them in there, let them start producing revenue. They're great long plays. I do like all his tickers. They're good investments, and investments are what we're here for. So, try and buy them low whenever you can. Buy them on dip days. Take your profits on the way up. Those are always good things to go. Now, we do have a special play coming up here. This is a lotto play. This is one that I want to show you guys, talk to you a little bit about. So this one's EVIO. So EVIO, this one's really interesting. So this one was sitting around for a long time. It was a darling. Then it sat down in the last 6 months. It was, had a high of, 0005. The company was, the CEO was sick. There's a whole backstory behind it. It dropped way down. The company did a whole bunch of dilution. And we're going to talk about the dilution and what happened and why, and a little bit about maybe what might be coming of it. So it was at 0005, and then it went to the gray market, and they diluted super heavily for quite some time. And it dropped all the way down to 0001. And it kind of sat there for several months, and there was basically no movement, and not a whole lot of shares were sold. The company just diluted. So then recently I took a look at the share structure, and the share structure was at 20 billion authorized shares, outstanding of 18.8 billion. So it's tightened up. There's not much more room to dilute. Only 60 million restricted, so there's not a whole bunch of restricted to dump into it, and you can see it looks like the dilution's kind of leveled out and stopped, and there hasn't been any dilution in 3 or 4 months, and there's not much more room for dilution. So what happened? So I kind of looked into the recent history on the company, and I kind of scrolled down through it all, on what's been going on with them, and as of March of this year, there was kind of a bunch of changes. So they changed from being a provider of cannabis and testing to a diversified holding company that included pharmaceutical testing services instead of just a testing regulator. So that kind of had changed, that they were now a holding company in analytical testing. So that was new. And then I went down, and they added a verified profile. They added hot sector. They changed, because they're now a holding company. They now have 2 employees instead of 20, because they now hold assets as opposed to that. They added a new CEO. They added a new website. They changed their former CEO to a COO. So they had a whole bunch of changes. And then there was this article put out by Digital Journal, which I found quite interesting. And this was just on January 6th. Now, if you go down to this, read a little bit more into this Digital Journal, I found this quite interesting. This was on cannabis testing services and market. Now, if you look at some of the names in this, Thermo Fisher Scientific, that's a $29 billion company. You look at Merck, this is another $1 billion company. Gobi Labs, $300 million. SC Laboratories, $20 million. And then you keep looking, all these are hundreds of million and $1 billion companies. And then mixed in the middle of this all is EVIO Labs. Now that's EVIO. So they're mixing in as top key players. When you click on this report, you'll see what happens is you open it up, and this is a paid for report. It's 237 pages long. You have to request this report. You have to pay for this report. It's a sales and service report sent to major countries all over the world. You have to enter your security coordinate thing. So this is something that was paid for. It's pretty interesting. So then you go back and remember I mentioned that, March of this year was when all these changes really started happening. So Mr. Waldrop was hired back as CEO, and the former CEO was put in as COO and will focus on blockchain technologies. Now, she also, during that time, eliminated millions of dollars in debt from the balance sheet. Now, that to me says that's what was happening with all that dilution, was they were cleaning up the balance sheet. Now, they also said they have no plans to perform a reverse split in the foreseeable future. And they are now a diversified holding company, including pharmaceuticals, environmental, and stability and analogical testing in the US and Canada. They're enhancing opportunities to further diversify its holdings. So this is all really interesting. So you check out some of their other recent news. They just completed debt restructuring of Leaf Detective Note, which was one of the companies they just recently bought it. So they took $596,000, they lowered it to $205,000. We also talked about how they just they got rid of millions of dollars off their balance sheet. So they also added coast-to-coast contracting and consulting services, which has over $1 million in its current pipeline, with also 7 new prospective client schedules for appointments. If you take a look, they also had a new shareholder company priorities, and they talked about this was December 30th. They plan on becoming a fully audited and SEC reporting firm. Now, one of the things I found that was interesting in this is they hired Spotlight Media Corp, which is a high-end firm, to finish their SEC audit. And in this, they actually said they plan on uplisting to the OTCQB without doing a reverse split. So that, to me, in order with the 18 billion shares, that means they need to have about 180 million market cap, which currently their market cap's only like 1.8 million. So they need to increase it by 100 times. So to get to OTCQB. So they obviously have some major plans, and they plan on doing this without any more major dilution or reverse split. So what have they been doing for the last 2 years? Something. They reduced debt by millions. They've, added some new assets. They've got some other things going on. They've got some things to announce is what I'm thinking. So taking a look at their Twitter account, EVIO Inc. is focused on building a foundation to hedge against economic and environmental risks. So if you look, they don't have a whole lot on their Twitter. Like November 10th was the last time they did anything, and they said they're going to release some news, and they did. November 3rd, they talked about their cleaning up of the note, which we already talked about earlier. William Waltrop is the CEO, and they've got a few things going on their Twitter, but I expect this to get a lot more active really soon. Once they file their SEC documents, check out their new website. I looked at that, Protecting Their Future. It looks pretty cool. They've got some pictures of some science stuff, some gold. The one thing I thought was really cool was they do have a new link on there for mining. Now, I did try to click on that. Not much going on there. I mean, it's a brand new website. I think a lot more of this is going to be flushed out soon. Now, like I like to say on these 0001 plays, this is a lotto. So, it's a swing play. I don't have all the information about this. We don't know a lot of the information about this. Buyer beware. It's a penny snipe. We call these a lotto for a reason. It's a high risk, high reward play. But when you're buying these at a 0001 play, due diligence, get in early, has a high risk, high reward. That's why they're a lotto. They're a lot of fun. A lotto fun. So let's get in on them if you want. Let's go snipers.